The following is a presentation of Sertoba Media and Comey Media, Incorporated.
New York Jets cornerback arrested on drug charges in Morgan County, Alabama. What's next for him and his team? Looking at that also, you got Travis Kelce makes on-stage appearance during Taylor Swift's London show. Is he having a little bit too much fun out here in these streets? And many position players made an impact during the inaugural UFL season. We give you our top 5 players who can make an impact in the NFL in this 2024 season. All of that and more on the 43rd edition of Total Football Talk. Welcome, one and all. It's that time again. We're back for Total Football Talk action. Myself, the co-host, Drew Willingham, along with the EP of all EPs, co-host himself, Kyle Johnson. Welcome back, brother.
No, well, thank you. Thank you for that rousing introduction. I appreciate that. I hope the tribe is ready. I'm ready. I know that I'm geared up. 1 month away from training camp beginning in the NFL, and the CFL is underway. So yes, I'm excited.
Absolutely. We are back in action, as well as looks like we do have one part of the TFT tribe already rocking with us. Ike is in the house and says, yo, along with sup, fellas.
What's up, Ike? It's
Ike,
good to see you again, man.
Glad to have you back. Ike was, a fixture in last night's D Willy in the evening as well. Got to give him a shout out. Season 2 finale was last night. Will not be back for another 3 to 4 months. With a lot of things going on. We got a lot of football to talk, for one, but there's things coming down the pipe that's got to be available for us. So had the season 2 finale last night. It was a fun episode. Got to talk about the hair, as you wanted to say yourself. Went from metalhead to politician in minutes. Yeah. And I've also been dubbed Corporate Willie now. So there you go. That's all the changes that happened over the weekend. But we are back, though, for episode 43 of Total Football Talk. The Roughriders quarterback Trevor Harris got injured in the Week 3 win. Can they continue to dominate without him? We'll also answer that and more on today's show. But with that being said, let's go ahead and take it into the opening drive and talk CFL Week 3 action.
All right,
let's go. We got trips, right? At 42, 989 on 2. Ready? Great.
Yeah, Week 3 in the CFL, we had one team that was on bye. As something that we've been talking about the past few weeks, is they have this a little bit different in the CFL than the NFL. Cole and I talking in the green room. One thing that we both look at, the fact that they have 3 downs to get to a first down instead of 4. You got a bigger field, and then with this, pretty much a team has a bye every single week for because they have 9 teams in the league. So this week it was the Calgary Stampeders, who are 1-1 right now after the first 2 weeks of the season, get the bye in Week 3. And then, our first game that we look at, on Thursday night was an absolute routing. Okay. There's 2 teams that have been pretty dominant in the CFL so far through 3 weeks. And we're going to talk about one of them right here in this first game. And that's the Montreal Alouettes, as they defeated the Ottawa Redblacks 47-21. Cody Fajardo, in my opinion, is at the top of the charts for CFL MVP. And if they were to do rankings this early after 3 weeks, I mean, what he's done and the stats he's put up, not only, with his arm, but on the ground, he's been moving the chains with his legs too. I mean, he threw for 393 passing yards, 3 touchdowns, also had 5 carries on the ground, which isn't a lot, but it mustered up 39 yards, almost 8 yards per carry with a rushing touchdown as well. 4 touchdowns in this game by Fajardo to give them this win. I mean, he was a big part in why they won. Something to look at, too, that you and I talked about a couple weeks ago when we were last together, as well as last week when Ryan McCarthy was here, the fact that the Alouettes here, they've got terrible rushing as far as outside of Fajardo. He's the only one that's really been putting up numbers on the ground as well as scoring rushing touchdowns. The running backs for this team have been mustering up small numbers, and they continue it this week with only 57 rushing yards on 16 attempts. They've got to improve that number if they want to stay hot to keep this undefeated streak going and be somewhat like the Stallions of the UFL. Caleb Williams, the running back, did get another touchdown this week. That's his second consecutive week with a rushing touchdown. But those numbers still, if you look at his individual numbers, they were very lackluster besides that one rushing touchdown. Tyson Philpott, 8 receptions, 150 yards in the receiving, as well as a touchdown. Dominique Rhymes, 8 receptions for 116 yards as well. The Alouettes defense has not been disappointing either, as they had 3 sacks with an interception by Tyrese Beverett. On the other side of the ball for the Ottawa Redblacks, Drew Brown continues to struggle a little bit, although he threw for almost 300 yards, throwing for 292 yards in the air with a touchdown and an interception. The Redblacks running backs, worse than the Alouettes running backs, which I think had a big impact on their way to get offensive production for that team, with 11 carries, 56 yards on the ground. Justin Hardy was the highlight for that team, though. 7 receptions, 143 yards. A big contributor for Drew Brown's overall numbers to get towards 300 yards, along with Jalen Ackland's 4 receptions for 42 yards. He did get the lone touchdown by Drew Brown. But the Redblacks defense, Cole, they absolutely sucked. I mean, when you look at it, I know when you saw that in the slate just there, that's what kicked it off, because it was an all bold. Even the font was just a little bit bigger than the other font around it, because I had to make sure that you knew that they absolutely suck. Because you look at this right here, 47-21. Looking at this game right here, you seeing the highlights, seeing the game, seeing everything in perspective. What is your thought of this opening game of the opening drive?
Well, Ottawa Redblacks had 11 matadors, and basically Alouettes were just nothing but bulls, just went all the way down the field. The Redblacks need to tighten up stuff on defense for sure. Offensively, I think it would help if they could run a little bit more, but I get why they didn't run as much. Obviously, it must have been down early. And I mean, down a lot early. And normally when that's the case, teams abandon the run quick, which I still believe you shouldn't, because I think the running game, even if you're down by multiple scores, it can help you get back in the game. But what stands out like a sore thumb to me, other than, of course, Cody Fajardo, almost 40 yards on the ground and almost 400 yards in the air, and 3 throwing touchdowns, 1 rushing touchdown. I want to see the Alouettes run it a little better. Defense seems to be okay. I could tolerate if you allow 21 points if your offense can put up more than twice as many. But the offense needs to run the ball more, and if you run the ball more, you protect that defense. And I think the Alouettes defense, they just need just a wee bit more protection. Not saying they're bad, but I think they just need a wee bit more protection so they can really do what they were meant to do on that side of the ball, which would give you on the offensive side of the ball, back possession early. So those are the 2 things that really stand out like a sore thumb.
Absolutely. I mean, this game, 47-21. Yes, the Alouettes need some protection to give them a little bit better of a running game. Mm-hmm. They do have great pass protection, I'll have to say. I mean, when you've got 3 touchdowns in the air, but when your quarterback has to scramble and he's getting more yards than your running backs, it goes to show how much they truly are struggling out there on that field. I mean, some of those players don't have any other chance but the CFL but to play, and they're making the best of it when you're putting up 47 points. But you got to do everything right in all 3 phases of the game, and that's offense, defense, and special teams, what we've talked about several times throughout the course of the tenure of this show. But there's other aspects to those three phases, like in offense, where you have a passing game and you have a running game. It's pretty much that phase is split in half when you look at that. And this game right here, it was 17-1 after the first quarter. So again, that's something that me being fairly new, and I'll even tell you the viewers this, I've watched this game overall throughout the course of my lifetime, but I've never fully understood some of the scoring aspects of it. I'm still learning that as we go. As a fan of football, action, impact of the game, I'll watch it, but there's certain things like I don't know how they only got 1 point in the first quarter. That's something that I'm having a hard time digesting right now, Cole, that I'm just looking at this game, and that's the one thing that I missed from looking at it, but 17-1 after the first quarter. Then the next quarter, they were up 30-1 by halftime. The Alouettes were up. So when you look at that, this was a total complete routing to where the Redblacks didn't score, but only 20 points in the second half. But you were down 30-1 in the first half. I mean, help me make sense of this. This Redblacks team absolutely suck. I mean, they won one game before, and they had a bye week. They had the bye week in week 1, which is probably good because we would have seen another dismal game from them had they played with the way their defense just played. And your offense put up 1 point in the first half, in the first quarter. Please make sense of this for me.
This is the only positive that the Redblacks could take from this game. It's one of those where the coaches are going to try to make them feel really good about themselves and say, you know what, we'll pick and choose which parts of this game that you could take and improve on, but burn that tape, burn it. We don't have to worry about it. Don't have to watch it. Let's get that taste out of our mouth. Let's go on to the next week. That's the only good thing about this game for the Redblacks. Otherwise, you can't have your offense execute literally almost nothing in a half and expect to be competitive, let alone expect a win. And when you have that as a barometer, especially if you're going to play teams like the Alouettes, who looks like, from what I'm understanding, they like to get out to big leads early. When you have a team that smells blood early with you, or when they play against you, you have to find ways to slow down the momentum, and you got to do things to slow down the momentum. And for some reason, the Redblacks just don't have what it takes to slow down the momentum. And when that happens, it means the running game is not there. It means defense on all three phases and all three levels are totally exposed. And that doesn't bode well for your club. It doesn't bode well for the morale of it. Doesn't bode well for the strategy of it. And that's something that the Redblacks have to nip in the bud sooner rather than later.
Absolutely. I mean, this is a team that Ryan McCarthy is a fan of. He was telling us about his love for that team, and when they used to be the Baltimore Stallions back in the day.
Right.
How things have changed, with the CFL and everything. So in a short period of time in the 90s where they had teams in the United States, but unfortunately we don't have that type of football anymore. But what we do have is a score like this. And I know you're saying pretty much shake it off and flush it. But if you're the Redblacks at this point, you're lucky to have a win under your belt the way that game went the previous week. And now you're playing against an Alouettes team that I would say is on the same level, if not better, because they've been statistically better over the years than the Roughriders. The Roughriders have been not the greatest team in the league, being, 6-12 the previous year and playing very subpar. Right. So the Alouettes looks like they're the team to beat so far in the first 3 weeks, even though I'm putting a lot of hype behind the Roughriders because I love their name. But when it comes, and their uniforms are cool too. But the Alouettes here proved that they're a team that we cannot sleep on after 3 weeks, 3-0, and this is a very decisive victory in this week. And even Ike said, absolutely sucked, re-uttered my thoughts on that defense. But I guess you could say the same about their offense for only putting up a point in the first half.
Yeah, the offense absolutely sucked in the first half. I mean, but we're not going to be taking away. I don't think you're doing this either. We're not going to be taking away from the effort of the Alouettes. I mean,
No,
that's what you're supposed to do. If you smell the team is not it's not comparable to you, you should put them out early. They did that, and if they could continue to do that, yes, they will be the team to beat in CFL. I just want them to shore up their running game and not have the QB be the spark plug for it. That's the only thing I don't like about the Alouettes.
It's going to be interesting to see how things pan out for these two teams. The Redblacks definitely need to get their blank together because it's not looking good for them after the first 2 games of their season.
Yeah.
For our next game that we have up, even though the score was a lot closer, we've got a team here in the Winnipeg Blue Bombers who have definitely been underwhelmingly performing this year. And this was probably the best game that we got out of them. But there are some things that we'll dissect throughout this game to where we can kind of make comparison to their first 2 games, the 2 weeks prior, as Vernon Adams Jr. for the BC Lions led them with 398 passing yards, 2 touchdowns, 5 carries for 24 yards, did not have a single turnover in this game as he led the Lions to a 26-24 victory over the Winnipeg Blue Bombers. William Stanback, 16 carries, 83 yards, led the rushing attack for the day for the Lions. No touchdowns for him, but 16 carries and 83 yards is very respectable on the ground for the day. Alexander Holland, 7 receptions, 215 yards with 2 touchdowns. Definitely, got those 2 touchdowns from the Vernon Adams, who had 2 passing touchdowns, but was a big part of why he almost threw for 400 yards on that day, being the results we got from Alexander Holland. Then you got Justin McGinnis, 6 receptions, 95 yards. As well as the Lions defense, 1 sack on the day. They were a little quiet in comparison to how they've been the previous weeks, but 1 sack was enough along with their efforts to get that 2-point victory over the Blue Bombers. On the other side for that said team, Zach Collaros, 247 passing yards, no touchdowns, no interceptions, was not able to do enough to help this team get over the hump. Nick Dembski, 8 receptions, 94 yards. As well as the Blue Bombers defense. This is a stat that I, put up here just because it's true from the first 2 weeks. I mean, they absolutely sucked again. I mean, they put up 24 points as a team, but they gave up 26. Now, had you lost, 17-14 or something, I would be a little bit more respectable in that fact. But when you look at this right here, they didn't play respectable, and they haven't, which is why they're 0-3 at this point in the season after 3 straight weeks of playing. When you look at this game right here, Cole, what are your thoughts overall when it comes to the Blue Bombers losing a 3rd consecutive game? But then we have a team in the BC Lions who improved themselves to, a 2-1 record after coming in this at a 500 record.
From the Blue Bomber standpoint, I almost think it sort of is like with the Renegades in the UFL. You almost have to take the small victories and build on them. And I hate to say it that way, but that's the approach I think they should take. The offense actually performed, maybe not stellar. It wasn't Air Coryell or the Greatest Show on Turf type of performance, but 24 points that they put on the board, that's encouraging, and so I think they got to build on that. And in building on that, they probably need to take the air out of the tires of the opposing team. Again, it goes back to the running game. If you can get a bigger presence in the running game, I think that would probably help the defense out more. But yes, I agree. My philosophy with defense is simple. Unless the offense is cooking, if you can limit a team to less than 20 points, the defense did their job. This game, which they played Friday, the Blue Bombers defense did not do their job. 26 points is too much to allow. And double, especially when the offense of the Blue Bombers were actually protecting their QB. So when you have that, you got to, as a defense, stand up, step up, and make a play, and have that effort there. Otherwise, forget it. And as for the Lions, it looks like they're sort of chopping away and chopping away and chopping away. And looks like they have something special with the Adams to Hollins connection. I think what I want to see more from them, and I'm loving the fact that they are unafraid to run the ball. I would love to see their defense put a little more pressure on the QB, and I think if they could do that, they can hang with the big boys in the CFL. Otherwise, they'll be lapped by them if they lack having pressure and putting pressure on the QB.
Spot on. And even Ryan jumps in and says, Winnipeg is banged up. Will they be healthy in time for a run? BC is looking more and more like they're for real.
What's up, man? Good to see you, the CFL specialist.
Yes, sir. I mean, he even said with the previous take, when he jumped in and said, what's up, said Montreal was dominant again. The real test is Friday in Toronto. Ottawa not there yet. We're talking about the first game that we recovered.
On the money. Yep, on the money.
Spot on. Ryan Crush, that's why we talked. I talked with him more over the week. I hadn't had a chance to catch up with you on this yet, but what we talked about with him doing like an hour 2 segment with us is coming, but we got to wait till August because the way his schedule is on Mondays around the time that we do the show, can't necessarily fully commit, and he doesn't want to fully commit until he can actually, be here on a regular basis like we were talking about. So he's going to be our CFL insider, starting in August to get us through the second half of the CFL season pretty much and through the playoffs.
So Ryan gave you the way my schedule's set up, treatment. Okay, got it.
Yeah. Hey, I get it.
No, I understand. I fully get it.
Of anybody that understands is me and you. Like our schedules are, and especially mine, completely out of whack. Yeah. But we're making it happen because we love what we do, and we're happy to have Ryan be a contributor and help us out with the CFL coverage as well. So that's going to be awesome. But when it comes to that, again, he says Winnipeg is banged up. I mean, they truly are. They have to if you're going to be 0-3 at this point. And will they be healthy in time for a run? I mean, it is a long season. It's an 18-game season. We still have 15 more games that could turn it around in. So, but BC is definitely looking for real. And I, again, reiterated what I said, absolutely sucked again when it came to the defense. I mean, he's loving that part. So we got to give him the credit for being here with us. And for all of you out there watching, if it's your first time to the channel, please subscribe now and never miss out on new content for Comey Media as well as Sertoba Media, where the struggle is real to be awesome. If you're watching on X, Twitch, YouTube, whatever right now, thank you all for tuning in.
True.
It's kind of like I was walking down the street the other day and I heard somebody go, gang, gang. Like that. It could be that too. So it could be all that up in one. So we got it all wrapped up in a bow for you guys today as we go through that second game. And today we also have another game that we have to talk about before we get to the game of the week, and that is my team that I like very much, the Saskatchewan Roughriders. They absolutely dominated this past week as they won 36-20 over the Hamilton Tiger Cats. Now, I believe the first game we talked about was more of a routing than this game right here. I think the Roughriders, and they played pretty well and pretty evenly for a while, a little bit. Not really. For the first quarter, it was 17-0. After the first quarter, the Roughriders were roughing them around, roughhousing those kitties all over the place. As we get to the second quarter, the kitties put up 7 points, but it's still 18-7 going into halftime. Now, with all that being said, we have to look at what the production was. Trevor Harris put up 177 yards in the air with 2 touchdowns and an interception, but does get hurt, which leads to our show graphic for the day. And we'll answer that here in a little bit. But, he gets banged up. Looking at that, they get the win. They're 3-0. But AJ Alouette has been a big part of their production here, as he has another week with another great game on the ground with 20 carries, 98 yards, and a touchdown, along with adding 4 receptions for 47 yards, getting over 100 total yards for the day. Put up great numbers. I promise this is not a typo for this next one, Cole. You can Google it all you want to. This is the man's name. Aju. Is his name. His first name, his first name is the same as his last name. I Googled it 4 times to make sure that I wasn't half asleep when I was putting this together and reading it wrong, okay? I thought it could have been Aju Alou, kind of like Moises Alou, a relative of that person. No, it was Aju. Interesting name. Got a cool one, but he put up 1 reception. Not like Tyrone Alizé McDummie's 1 reception per -2 yards. Okay? It's 1 reception for 40 yards and actually gets the ball in the end zone. Not a Tyrone Alizé McDummie player at all. And I had to find a way to plug him in. You know it, but that's how it is. Samuel Emilus, 3 receptions, 39 yards, and a touchdown as well. Give you the 2 passing touchdowns received by those receivers to get the Rough Riders in the end zone. Their defense, though, is what made the biggest impact of the day, in my opinion, though. 2 sacks, 3 interceptions that set up those scoring drives. The 3 interceptions by Roland Milligan, Jameer Thurman, and Jamarcus Fields. On the other side, Old Man River, Bo Levi Mitchell, 295 passing yards, 2 touchdowns, and throws those 3 interceptions to those previously mentioned players. The Tiger Cats, running backs, playing like a bunch of kiddies, 9 carries for 29 yards out here on that field. Shamar Bridges, 9 receptions, 113 yards, in the air, catching them, touchdown. That's what he does as a receiver. Keandre Smith, 5 receptions, 52 yards on a touchdown. But those 2 combined players who played pretty well were not enough production to help the Tiger Cats get more than those 20 points, and losing by 16 is the Kitties defense. 2 sacks and an interception. It still wasn't enough when you look at the way the Rough Riders were playing all the way around. When we look at this game by the Kitties, okay? Tiger Cats, the Kitties, whatever you want to call them, playing against the Rough Riders, Cole. What are your thoughts when looking back on this game right here?
Well, you should be proud of the performance of the team, of the nickname you like, because they played Rough Rider type of action. What I really dig is they're committed to being physical on offense, and they're committed to be physical and attack on defense. And when you're playing downhill, only good things can happen. And I'm loving this. The only minus, unfortunately, is the starting quarterback getting injured, and we'll talk about that later. But I'll be buoyed by the AJ Alouette performance. That this isn't a once in a 3 or 4 week type of situation. That he is a part of your offense, and if that injury is a big blow to the QB, he can actually help ease the backup into being comfortable in the offense. So to me, that's a huge key. I love seeing that. And come on, 3 picks and 2 sacks. The defense was active, and like I said in the last game, if the defense can allow less than 20 points, you did your job. Yes, they allowed 20, but the offense did their thing, and the defense contributed to that offense doing their thing. I love that performance by the Rough Riders. I hope they can actually bottle that up and continue to play that way, because it's going to take that type of effort to be the best team in the CFL. As far as the Tiger Cats are concerned, you can't come with less than 30 yards on the ground. That is unacceptable. Yes, it's cute that you almost threw for 300 yards, and you got a receiver that has over 100 yards passing, that receiving. That's great. And even your defense got you some stats. But 29 yards on the ground, that just won't cut it. That just won't cut it.
Absolutely not. I mean, we've got teams kind of like with our first game when we talked about, the fact that Cody Fajardo is putting up better numbers than the Alouettes, but there's not many teams like that have a well-rounded team that's good enough to pick up the slack like that. It's not going to always work out in that manner. So they've got to take this as a learned lesson. Like, look at the teams around them. We talked about it when teams in the NFL during the 2024 season. We talked about it with teams in the UFL during that season right there. And now we're talking about it for a 3rd consecutive professional football league, that if you can't get a solid running game together, the statistics are proven it's not going to last. You're eventually going to fold before the end of the year. And those teams in the UFL that had that problem, they folded as far as being able to advance to the UFL title game, and it didn't work out. And teams like the Stallions are going to decimate you every single time. We talked about the Brahmas and how they had their run, but they had inconsistencies in the running game, and it got exposed in the UFL championship game. I'm not saying by all means that the Winnipeg Blue Bombers or the Hamilton Tiger Cats are going to be going to the CFL title game at all, based on what I'm seeing through 3 weeks.
Right.
But what I can say is the Roughriders are putting up a really, really, really strong case for a well-rounded overall team. That they're going to be a team that's in the hunt, I believe, by the end of the year. You can call me crazy if you want, because they were 6-12 last year. But based on the way that they're playing and the fact that their name is the Saskatchewan Roughriders, and they have a great set of looking uniforms. I love that green. I love their intro, too. Like last week when I did the reel with Ryan McCarthy, when it had that promo of all the smoke coming out, the players coming out the tunnel. That is a team right there that is a rough team that you got to face. And that's why, if I had to pick a team in the CFL, it's my team right now. It's the Saskatchewan Roughriders.
Yeah, I mean, if they play like they did this past weekend, yeah, I want to see more of that. I want to see more of that.
Ike's loving the kiddies out here. You know, I
Oh,
did have a
boy.
good little take with the kiddies there for a second. You know, they're playing like a bunch of kiddies. I mean, so they look like a tiger cat to me. I'm going to start calling them the Hamilton Kitties. That's what we're going to do out here in these streams. Now, Ike also says he also loves how I said the Saskatchewan Roughriders. That's going to be all you get until we do the preview for CFL Week 4. But when it comes to this game, I'm very happy to see the production continue for this team. They have a bye week coming up in Week 4, so hopefully that doesn't cool their jets but so much. But looking forward to seeing what they do when they come back in Week 5. And now, Cole, it is that time that we go over the game of the week right here.
All right.
The game of the week was a pretty interesting one. You got to look at a team that we've been talking mad smack about, that with their name, the Elks.
Elks.
Okay. And with Ryan McCarthy last week, we were talking about the Elkamos, combining the two names, making one awesome name out of it that's better than the Elks. Because it's just like the Kitties. Now, right here, right now, looking at this game, the Toronto Argonauts, who have definitely been playing pretty solid this year as well, put up 39 points and beat the Elks, who happened to put up 36 points and did a really good job by staying in the game, which is why I had to give them the game of the week this year. Well, not this year, but this week. And Cameron Dukes, 214 passing yards with 2 touchdowns, along with 4 carries for 17 yards with a rushing touchdown as well. 3 total touchdowns on the day to help get the Argonauts that 39-point victory over the 36-point led Elks. Kadeem Carey, 19 carries, 104 yards and a touchdown, has been absolutely impactful for this team when it comes to their running attack for all of their games they've played this year. The Toronto would not be where they're at, putting up the amount of production that they are without Kadeem Carey, and I wanted to make sure I made that point right here and now. DeMonte Coxey, 3 receptions, 58 yards and a touchdown, along with Rasheed Bailey's 1 reception for 21 yards and a touchdown. Round out the 2 completions, touchdowns from Cameron Dukes to those receivers to help get that production on the day, along with Kadeem Carey's running attack. Argonauts defense, though, they were a little quiet. 1 sack on the day, which is why I think the Elks were able to put up 36 points on the day. But you got to look at the production by the quarterback on the other side. Somebody I've been talking about this year as well, McLeod Bethel Thompson. 342 passing yards, 4 touchdowns, Cole. 4 passing touchdowns. Not many times you see a quarterback with 4 passing touchdowns and lose, okay?
Right.
But what did hinder their production was the fact that they only had 35 rushing yards by the Elks running backs on 10 attempts. That's why. And they're lucky to be able to put up the amount of points they did with that number right there for the running backs. Dylan Mitchell and Hergy Mayala were big contributors as far as the receivers go again this week, and they have been all season long. As Mitchell had 5 receptions for 120 yards and a touchdown. Mayala had 5 receptions, 72 yards and a touchdown. And the Elks defense, 3 sacks and an interception by Luciz Perov. And when you look at that, I mean, they had better numbers as a defense than the Argonauts. What were your thoughts as far as how the Argonauts were able to pull this one away, considering how well the Elks played in this game?
The defense better be buying the offense a whole ton of stuff this week, because their bacon was saved by their performance. Yeah, I know it wasn't pretty in the passing realm. I mean, you can go fantasy football and say, well, wait a minute, the quarterback didn't throw for 300 yards. He didn't even throw for 250. I don't care about that. I want to see INTs. I see 0. I loves that. If the quarterback can take care of the ball, if he can put the team in the end zone, if he can move the team down the field, whether it's through the air or on the ground, I don't care. Just as long as he takes care of the ball and doesn't turn it over. And that's what Cameron Dukes did. So, yeah, he took care of the ball. And Kadeem Carey, that's what I'm talking about. I love it when we can get over 100 yards and not even get 20 carries to do so. It took his performance and timely plays in the passing game to actually, I hate to say it this way, bail out the Argonauts secondary, because this is a game that the Elks should have had just on the performance of McLeod Bethel Thompson alone. And then the defense, hey, I feel for the Elks. It's like they play in spades. It's like, they have their moments and then they don't. They just have to find a way to put 60 minutes together. And if they can, I think they will be able to knot some wins. But spotty play will get you games like this, exciting as it may be, but in the pay window, you'll take more L's than W's. The same could actually go with Toronto, but if the running game's there, that will help out a lot of things. And a great running game covers a multitude of football sins.
Did you say more? NW. Is that what you said just now?
That is what I said. And when I said L's, I knew that was going to be coming from you. In fact, I knew that was going to be the first thing you was going to say after I finished.
And I think you figured that following that I was going to say,
"Oh, my brother, testify."
I'm with it. I fully support your message.
Thank you, sir.
That was absolutely great. That was looking at this game right here, the Elks, even though they're 0-3, put up their best production on the year so far.
Mm-hmm.
They were winning after the first quarter. They were up 14-7. They were smacking them around. The Argonauts said, "Nope, not in my house." They literally were at home, and they put up 14 points to the Elks 1 point. What's up with these teams only putting up 1 point in an entire quarter? Somebody help make sense of this. Ryan McCarthy, please help me and Cole understand how a team can only put up 1 point in an entire quarter. I still cannot fathom it, but that's what happened. The Elks only put up 1 point in the second quarter as the Argonauts took a 21-15 lead going into the half, and they pretty much didn't look back as they had, 8 points to the Elks, 7 in the third quarter. And even though the Elks put up 14 points to the Argonauts, 10 in the fourth quarter, it still wasn't enough because they were still down by 3 after that. So, putting all this perspective and thinking about this overall, the Elks, I feel like, are improving. With your comparison to, the other side with the Renegades in the UFL, I feel like the Elks can be in that discussion as well because they got to take the small victories as they come. And to put up 36 points and lose after you were 0-2 coming into that week, it's pretty respectable. They're able to pull it off and say, we're a team that might have an 0-3 record, but don't sleep on us. We can be one of those teams to turn it around for the rest of the season. But as the Elkamos go, I don't know if it's going to happen out here on that field.
Oh, Lord. Conversations that you have, Elkamos. Okay. No, but you're right, man. You're exactly right. What the Elks need to do is they need to understand that they got to put together 60 minutes. And if they can do that, they'll be well on their way. They can tighten some things. And if they can do that, to me, and the defense has to play a little bit more cohesively, obviously. And the running game needs to show. Support what you saw with the quarterback. And if you're going to have these shootouts, it's going to be great. But that you're going to be you'll be biting your nails every single week, and you're going to be saying, man, if we did this. You can't be saying that. You got to say, all right, we shored this up. Now, what's the next thing we shore up? And once you do that, you're playing better. And I think that's what the Elks need to do, and I think they will, because losing by a field goal that's a tough pill to swallow, and that's going to stick with you. So I think that's going to help them improve and motivate them to play better.
Ryan says you score only 1.5 points. That's Canadian football, Susan.
Who's Susan, Ryan?
That's what I'm trying to figure out. Who in the blank is Susan? That caught me for a total.
Surprise, motherfucker.
It got me. So, but right here, he says that. And then also he says the Riders did well without Trevor Harris. They have the offensive talent to stay in games. As for the Tabbies, send help. So I guess they're going to have to send help, because based on what we were talking about in the production for the Tiger Cats, the Kitties, they really need help, as Ryan's on board with that. And the Argos are playing great even without Chad Kelly. The Elkamos are close, but close only counts in horseshoes and hand grenades. Very, very true. I mean, yeah, look at this overall production by this team, guys. Those of you watching us now between YouTube, X, and Twitch, keep them coming. Keep these comments rolling on in.
Yes, sir.
Susan Waldman, sorry, I was doing my best. John Sterling.
Goodness gracious.
Yeah, that was great. When you think about how the production was for these teams in the CFL in week 3, definitely very, very interesting circumstances coming through between all 4 games and all 8 teams. It was probably good that the Calgary Stampeders were definitely on a break for the bye this past week, because they might have had the potential to stink it up too, based on what we saw from them in their previous action in those first 2 weeks. Even though they got a win, it wasn't really a pretty win, and their loss was definitely just as ugly. So when it comes to, I would say, the Redblacks, and when it comes to the Hamilton Tiger Cats,
Stop it. Get some help.
that's all you got to do, because you are not doing well out here in these streets.
Let me talk to you.
When you have the name as the Tiger Cats, and I'm going to sit here and call you the Kitties. I'm going to say that one more time, because you are playing like a bunch of kitties who still can't figure out how to use the litter box in the house. And you are taking big old little nuggets as kitties on the ground out there in the field. If you do not turn it around real quick, and when I say quick, I mean real mother, father, and quick, you are not going to have a really good, exciting 2024 season. It's not exciting already. You still have 15 games left of this year. Could we see an 0-18 team in the CFL? You tell me, because I'm still wondering. Ryan McCarthy, you let me know out here in the comments, because this is something I don't know. Has there been an 0-18 team in the CFL before? Because I feel like when I watch this Kitties team, they are going to be 0-18. They are an absolute team full of dumpster pelicans right here. Look at this list of dumpster pelicans that I'm putting on your screen right now. No, you know what? That wasn't good enough. Let's put it back on the screen. Let me break this down for you when it comes to the Kitties. Look at that one on the top right. The one with the longest beak. The one that sticks out the most. That is the Hamilton Tiger Cats right there. And you look beside them, you could arguably say the Elkamos are right beside them, okay? With other teams not far behind. But the one team that you can say that is not on this list is the Saskatchewan Roughriders. But at the top of the list, it remains here and now. I'm going to say the Hamilton Tiger Cats are your dumpster pelican team of the CFL. And that was your special moment, brought to you by Corporate Willie.
Only 3 weeks and you have made them the dumpster pelican team of the CFL?
There it is. That's how I feel.
Wow.
Look at how they play, man. I mean, the Rough Riders went rough all over them this past weekend. And you want to sit here and say for 0-3, how can I not? They're playing like a bunch of kitties.
Oh my gosh, a bunch of kitties. Oh Lord.
With pellets on the ground and all. But with that being said, you guys, we're going to take this into our first commercial break. And when we come back, we have a lot more electrifying action for you on the other side of that.
All right, let's go. We got trips, right? At 42, 989. On two. Ready? Break!
We're just getting started. Total Football Talk will return right after this. Whether it's news, the largest egg producer finds bird flu in chickens at a Texas plant, weather, devastating tornadoes rip through the heart of the United States, inspiration, a breast cancer survivor completed the journey of chemotherapy, and now begins a future one of matrimony or sports. Michael Jordan is shown on a photo with Diddy. LeBron James has a video extolling the virtues of a Diddy party. This has been yet another beating a dead horse presentation. We got you covered. BS3 Network proudly presents The Morning Shift with Cole Johnson. Live every weekday morning beginning April 29th at 8 a.m. Eastern, 7 a.m. Central. Hey, Eagles fan. Join my man Cool McCain and a host of others as they break down every single game, every single week in an objective manner, and also from a fan's perspective as well. Remember, this cast feels just like you. Nobody likes you. And you don't care. Fly, Eagles, fly. Eagles Elite Podcast. Every Wednesday at 8:30 p.m. Eastern on YouTube and other podcast outlets.
Hear me though.
Everything Boston. I love you morons. New Kids on the Block, New Edition.
Dear whatever the law firm is. Sincerely, the U.S. Supreme Court.
Ben Affleck, Matt Damon. Go yourself again, Jason.
Welcome back to Total Football Talk, your source for hard-hitting gridiron action. We are back for episode 43, as we just talked about the Roughriders getting the win in week 3 with a quarterback that was injured. The question that I want to ask you, Cole, before we get too much further, because it's not really one that I had in the sleep, I had it on the cover of our thumbnail, is do you think they can continue to dominate without him if he's out for an extended period of time?
Yes, but it would have to take a team effort to do so. The defense has to get that pressure on the QB, and they have to force some turnovers, especially I think in the secondary. They have to make, in my opinion, I think they have to make the overall game easier. And I don't care how skilled the backup quarterback is. They got to make the game easier for him so that he doesn't feel the pressure of, okay, so it's all on me to make the plays. No, it won't be all on you. Just make a couple and just keep the offense on time and make the defense happy by, punch the ball in the end zone. It just do that and you'll have a happy team. So yeah, the running game has to still be there, and I think the running game will have to step up even more. And the defense, to me, especially the pass rushing, and the secondary coverages, I think that has to be big in order for the Roughriders to continue their dominance.
I think the most concerning thing to me is the fact that he already sustained a leg injury back last July.
Yeah,
and he already battled back through that, and he's back here again. Now, the details of how in-depth this leg injury is are still pretty unclear at this point. But what I can say is that, the fact that he already has another leg injury, it's not looking good at all. So the fact that they were able to pull out the win, and like Ryan had said in the comments, earlier, the fact that, they can still be okay without him, looking at this right here and right now, I'm just saying for him, I'm concerned because this is the second time you banged up a wheel in less than a year. I mean, it's not even July yet. We're still in June. And it's the second time you're going down with a leg injury or a knee injury or whatever the case, still affecting your wheels. And your wheels are your most important part of your game in football because you got to be mobile, and especially at the quarterback position. There's not many people that could be the Statue of Liberty and stand there like Thomas Edward Patrick Brady II in the NFL. I know. But back here, with the rules that are in place for the NFL and the difference in CFL to a degree, I see a little bit more hard-hitting action to an extent in CFL. Reminds me of the older style of football, when I watch CFL games, okay? And the fact that he's already taken 2 hits that have resulted in 2 leg injuries in the course of a year have me concerned for him, more so for him than the team.
Yeah, I agree. I think what he has to concern himself with now is just healing up. And now that question is going to be on the minds of, well, really, the fan base, the organization. They're now going to be thinking, oh gosh, so if we have him on the field, how long will it be until he's gone? And now we have to actually plan to have a serviceable backup to be in place of him. That's not a good thing. That's not a good thing in terms of strategy, because you want to have that starting quarterback healthy and reliable on a health end. And hopefully that tide can change. Hopefully.
Because in comparison to the UFL, we saw it with the Brahmas where, Chase Garbers went down for a while, but came back towards the end of the year. Quentin Dormady did well enough to keep the team winning to where they were positioned to where they were to get to the UFL championship game. But within a couple weeks of getting to that point, Chase Garbers is reinserted into the team, and it kind of messed with the chemistry a little bit, if you really break it down. And we could potentially see something like that here where you have a backup quarterback come in, continue this winning tradition of what they've been doing since the beginning of the year, like in the case of that in the other league. And it could affect the team later. So there's a lot of what ifs that could happen with this. If they can win without him, if they can win when he comes back, if he can come back like he was before, who knows? But Trevor Harris was a spark to that offense as far as leadership at the quarterback position the first 2.5 games, because this happened in the second quarter of this weekend's game, and they still found a way to win. But he started the game, and they were already on a roll when it happened. So it's going to be interesting to see how things go for this upcoming week in week 4, which we'll break down here pretty soon. But, for the game of the week right here with the Rough Riders themselves, Shea Patterson, he's the backup quarterback, and he only had 4 completions out of 10 attempts for 41 yards, no touchdowns and no interceptions. That's why I posed this question, because I am concerned for their offensive production going forward if they have this guy starting at quarterback for the majority of the games for the remainder of the year, because AJ Alouette's been big as far as their running back goes with his production, but and the defense has been pretty solid. Right. But I don't know if lackluster production in less than 100 yards in a game, especially for only playing in a half, if he can only put up 40 yards in the air in one half, that's still less than 100 yards for combined for two halves in a game. I don't know if they can sustain this going forward if they have that type of protection of their quarterback.
And that's where, to me, that's where the next man up has to really rise up, and they have to make the guy that's going to be coming in to feel confident and comfortable. And the only way he could do that is if he sees the other 21 people who are on the field with him, or I should say the ones who adorn the uniform, the 10 that go along with them on the field, and the 11 on the defensive end. If they all step up as one, and they look at him and they say, look, you don't have to take all of it. it's all on us. And if if you and it almost should be to the point where it's like, and if you do, make a mistake, don't worry. Just pick yourself up. We'll take care of you. Just as long as you take care of us. They got to make sure that he feels comfortable enough to where, like you said, he wouldn't feel as though it's all on him. Otherwise, you probably will get those 80-yard performances in a game.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Spot on. And with that, we got some comments in the chat. Playmakers in the house says, hey, D Willy and Cole Johnson.
What's up, Playmaker?
Yeah, what is up, Playmaker? Glad you are in the house. We'll have to check out Monarchs of Wrestling here in a few while I'm getting some downtime in between this and the In or Out Sports Debate, to which today is the 4-year anniversary of that
show. Congratulations.
Thank you. That was 4 years to the day with the first episode, and with the person that I started it with, Rob Johnson, will be back tonight. And for the 16th time, he'll be a Ric Flair in Vault of Fame inductee tonight. So this is going to be definitely a fun time with that. But all of you who have been a part of that show, including Playmaker, Cole last week, and Kyle, all of you guys have been a big part of it. Thank you very much. This is just as much of a celebration for you guys as it is for me. He also says, just finished up Shooting Lights Out. I'll have to check that out here later on as well. But definitely Monarchs of Wrestling. When this show's over, it's around the time that show starts. I will be tuning in as I'm getting some downtime in between shows. And Ryan also says, there has never been a winless team in a modern-day CFL since 1958. Wow. However, the Tiger Cats were the closest team when they went 1-17 in 2003.
21 years ago. Okay.
Well, when they did that, when they played like that at that point, they were completely to go 1-17. You are completely off the rails. Now, you still have a long way to go after the way you're playing right now to get to 0-18 or even 1-17. But the fact that it's been done, that someone's gone 1-17, you would think with this many games in a season, it's merely impossible to not only win one game. You should be able to at least win 2-3 games in an 18-game season. If not, then you must absolutely enjoy taking the man, that's terrible. That is absolutely terrible.
Why do I have to be paired with unhinged co-hosts?
You know that you love it, and the people do too. And it makes great reels, man. It brings great excitement. That's what it's all about. Bringing the fire up in here. Because for quite some time now, I have felt like
I think I got my swagger back.
Especially when talking about teams that play like that.
Well, yeah. Well, it's understandable. 1-17, Lord.
Hey, Wise, at least predicting a 1-7 is a lot better than predicting an 0-18. Okay, I had to go there, even though you only went 1-5, and I've acknowledged I bent the knee that I was wrong. But right here on Total Football Talk, right here and now, I'm going to say that I got a feeling these Tiger Kitties are going to go 1-17, 0-18. They're going to do something. These little cubbies, these little somethings. They're not even cubs. No, they're not Tigers.
Oh my gosh.
There's something all right.
Both you so have in common. You all so slickly disrespectful. That is hilarious. Tiger Kitties. Oh my gosh.
That's my quote of the day. But right here and now, we've gone through the opening drive. We came back from commercial. We got the gridiron scoop we got to take a look at now. We got some things to talk about when it comes to that. Here at the Gridiron Scoop, recently NFL's legend Tom Brady said that he considers Peyton Manning as the gold standard of quarterback play. Do you believe that he is being completely honest, or it's another tactic to take attention off of himself?
Is he being completely honest? Let me think long and hard about that one. I love how you phrased completely. To be completely honest, there's something that's in my brain. I can't. It's on the tip of my tongue. I can't think of
Hell to the no, to the no, 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 no. Hell no, to the no.
Now, is there some truth to it, or is there some honesty to it? Yeah, there is. I mean, look, as much success as he's had against Manning did beat Brady in 3 AFC Championship games, so he did have some success against him, and yeah, the legend that is Peyton Manning. You have defenders who relish the fact that he no longer plays in the game, and respect the fact that when he did play, he had a great commanding offense that defenders were in awe of how he ran the team. But I'll say this about Brady. I don't have nearly the same disdain about the ego of Tom Brady as I do about somebody else people think is a GOAT in another sport, but he seems to have a true ego problem. Brady doesn't. I love that Brady has confidence, but he doesn't seek the attention to say, look, I threw for over 100,000 yards playoffs and regular season combined. I mean, seven of these things. He doesn't strike you as that. He doesn't strike me as that. He's more along the lines of, look, my play on the field speak for itself, the record speak for itself, and I put forth the effort that I put forth, and I let the chips fall where they may. And the competitor that I was, it turned out that I was more successful than I wasn't. But it's also, it's also a nod to the understanding that, yeah, he may be considered the greatest of all time with many people. He's not with me, but he recognizes there's others who they play the position well, and they play the position at an elite level like him, and Peyton Manning is it.
Did you just compare Tom Brady, or not really compare, but compare and contrast him to Yo-K?
I didn't say a thing. I didn't mention him. I didn't mention the man that ego is so big that you just have to put a whole ton of.
I had way too much fun last week when we were on that show. And when I heard what you were just saying, I was like, yes. He left the door open for me to say, Yo-K! I loved it, because we don't ever get to do that here on Total Football Talk, because we're covering a completely different sport. So that was absolutely phenomenal, Cole. Thank you for that.
Oh, no problem, sir. Glad to oblige.
That was so great.
Anything to have you listen to Yo-K come from my lips. There you go. Lord.
We finally got one. Now, even as great of news as that was, we do have to shift it into something else. We've been talking about, Aaron Rodgers here between the In or Out Sports Debate, our show here with Total Football Talk. And even though this isn't directly at him, it does affect the team that he plays for. This past weekend, New York Jets cornerback Tay Hayes arrested on drug charges in Morgan County, Alabama. What's next for him? And will this added drama towards the organization continue their trend of failure or motivate the team towards success?
What's next for him? Let me see. You don't really hear his name all that much. He causes a big stir and a distraction. Unfortunately, the organization is going to probably say, you know what? if we give you a chance, you're going to be in rehab and you might not see the field. But considering that, and I hate to say this, Ryan, considering that this is the way of the Jets, they seem to jet it up yet again, and they seem to get in their own way. But look, I'm proud that it isn't Aaron Rodgers because, well, maybe you know what? I had this take on Inter Sports Debate. Maybe I need to retract that. Maybe Aaron Rodgers needs to appear on the Pat McAfee show every week, and even in the off season every week, so that he can distract from this crap happening. Because that's ridiculous. Oh my gosh.
It's absolutely insane. The amount of stuff that's going and circling around that organization. And I mean, you could say arguably the same for the team that I support and the Commanders. I mean, but they're trending upward considering the moves that they've made. And I'm not saying that as somebody that's supportive of the team. I mean, you acknowledged it.
I'm not, and I agree with you.
Yeah, and I mean, even fans like of the Giants, like Wise and others, can tell you and sit here and say, yeah, they've made more improvements. Now the Jets have made some improvements in some ways, but it's like the culture or something going on there. There's something going on that's a cloud over that team. It's to the point to where Aaron Rodgers is going on vacations instead of actually being at camp. So, and he's fully healthy now. There's no reason for him to not be there unless it's a selfish move. Now you've got somebody here. It's arrested on drug charges. It's only for marijuana, all right? But certain states have heftier punishment than others. You know, the Commonwealth states have lightened up on it. It looks like at some point it's going to be lightened up federally. But right now, it's still the same way in a lot of other states, and Alabama being one of them. And if you got to get a lot of heat from another state when you should be focusing on football right now than smoking weed, okay? You should be focusing on training to become the best because there was so much hype on this team last year and the expectations, you went downward, okay? The expectations were high, but you trended downward once Aaron Rodgers got hurt after the fourth play of the season, of the first drive, okay? So putting all that in perspective, even though he is on the defensive side of the ball, and he isn't a huge contributor, but if you want to stand out to become a huge contributor and to become a star, being young, you wouldn't be sitting around smoking a bunch of lettuce, okay? No. There's a time and a place for everything. If you need to relax during the offseason, you do that before June and July when you need to really get into gear to get ready for August, to go through training camp and preseason, and be ready for September when the first week starts, okay? Yeah. But apparently here, his head isn't in the right place, just like the leader of the team, Aaron Rodgers' head isn't in the right place by not being there. And when the leader of the actual organization is not in check, it's going to trickle down the line. It doesn't excuse by all means what this cornerback did and him getting in trouble, but it also doesn't set a good precedent for how you should behave out here in these streets representing the New York Football Jets.
That's what I'm talking about. Yes. All of what you said. Yes, sir. 100%. And that's the reason why that's the reason why I basically check out on Aaron Rodgers, is because he is old, mature, and smart enough by now to understand that they need to have that type of stability because that team is relatively young and they need to have that leadership as often as possible, as long as they possibly can, because he has a ring. I won't say championship pedigree, but he has a ring. He knows what he knows what it took at least 1 year to get the ring. He knows how hard it is to get back there. You know, so to me, it would I love this word when I was in the military. It would behoove number 8 to actually be there, because then you can impart upon a brother like a Tay Hayes to not do one of these. Put the Buddha down, son. No. Put it down. That's going to waste time. Now, in the off season, when they don't test you, smoke as much as you can if you can afford it. But no, if it's true what Aaron Rodgers said during the offseason, that they're focused on the Super Bowl and all distractions have to be gone, This is and you said the right word, precedent. This is a bad precedent that's being set, because it definitely means, we can throw tomatoes at him, but it just shows the leadership is faulty. It just shows it.
Absolutely. And even with all that said, I feel like that they were thinking some of the things that we were just saying about it, because McCoffee brings us breaking news. Oh yeah! You know it's not a show without breaking news. It's time to give you the fact that the Jets said you're going to kick rocks, and told him this afternoon that he was released.
I told you.
You absolutely did. You did say they are a dumpster fire. But a lot of our arguments leading up to that point is what we were saying before all of that even happened. So
100, man. Yeah.
So yeah, I dropped the ball with not having that news beforehand. So shout out to Ryan for coming through with that. But it set up this to where we could still go off on the Jets and still have a segment within a segment of this topic, because this, I got a feeling, it's not the last of the drama we're going to hear from the Jets.
Oh, no,
between now and the end of this upcoming season. It's going to continue.
No, it's not. No,
we have way too much to see. I mean, because if they're already making this big a deal out of things in June and not even July,
right?
Like, bruh, it's gonna be rough.
I mean, we haven't started training camp yet. The regular season is a little less than 3 months from now, and again, this is all, to me, I look at Robert Saleh, I look at Aaron Rodgers, and you just don't do that. You just don't. You have to be present.
And great comeback with the Kitties 2004 record. I'm going to bring that up when we get to our other part of the CFL segment later in the show there, Brian. But thank you for the fact check on that. As Melvin jumps in and says, "What's up, fellas? Sorry I'm late." Well, shout out to Melvin for being here and tuning in this week. We appreciate you for being here for episode 43, as we just went through, some big tale of woes for the Jets. And we're not even done yet. We still got more to bring you when it comes to that. We'll see you on the other side of this upcoming transition. And our next part of the Gridiron Scoop, the last topic in here, is the Lions predicted to trade quarterback Hendon Hooker. One they drafted not too long ago. Is, looking at this, if it happens, will they eventually regret putting so much faith in Jared Goff instead of developing a young talent within their system who's very, very young?
No, I don't think they'll regret it. Because I don't think Jared Goff is old man yet. He's close to it. He's not like Matthew Stafford. But no. You have to understand. So in the last 10 games, 2022, they went 8-2 with him as a starter. And then they won the NFC North and got all the way to the NFC Championship game. And they suffer from the head coach gambling so much on the sideline. I mean, they put up a valiant effort, but lost to the eventual NFC champions 37-34. No, they already have a lot of faith in Goff. It's understandable. But they also know they have to have an eye on the future. Now, is Hendon Hooker the guy? Well, I guess we'll find out in training camp in the preseason. But no, I don't think they'll regret it. I don't think they'll regret it at all.
I enjoyed watching Hendon Hooker play when he played for Virginia Tech for a little bit, but unfortunately, his last year there in 2020, COVID year, he went 2-5 in 7 games. He started in those 7 games. He played in 8, and just had a very lackluster year. Transferred to Tennessee, playing for the Volunteers in 2021. In 2022, he went 6-5 in his first year and 9-2 in his second year in 2022, his senior season. but also picking up the SEC Player of the Year, the Offensive Player of the Year at that in 2022, and was on the first team All SEC that year as well. So he does have some accolades, right, with his time in college. Only 1 year in the NFL, but the 1 year he was in the NFL happened to be Jared Goff's best year, and the year that got him, a contract. Even though I say best year, he did lead the Rams to a Super Bowl appearance before. They didn't win,
Right. That's
but
correct.
he did, in my opinion, have his best overall year as a leader for the team, contributing in positive production to where they got the furthest the Lions had been in a very long time, this year because of the way that he played. So he was rewarded with this contract. Now, what I look at when it comes to Jared Goff, like you said, he's not old man River yet. He's still 29. He hasn't quite hit 30 yet. Hendon Hooker, even though he's only in his second year in the NFL, he's already 26. He's only 3 years behind Goff, and Goff has had a lot more playing time, a lot more time to develop throughout this time since he's been between the Rams and with the Lions. And even though he's only 29, it feels like he's been in the league forever because he's been around since 2016.
It does feel like forever, yeah.
I felt like he was. I was surprised when I saw that he was 29 coming into this show. So, he came in very early at 21, and I think that the woes that we had because of how high he was drafted when he first came into the league, I think we put a little bit too much shade on the fact that he needed time to grow a little bit more. Yes, he was the first overall pick, right? And but as a first overall pick, he still led the Rams to a Super Bowl appearance. Yeah. And they were still good enough that even though they made a trade and Stafford came in because Stafford was way more developed and had been around a lot longer, he was exactly what they needed at that time to win that Super Bowl. However, the Rams are going to eventually learn that they dropped the ball with Goff because had they kept him around,
they did.
That one Super Bowl could have turned into a lot more. And it could have also given them the cap room to bring in other talent as to where now they drop the ball to where they've got Stafford who's aging, who isn't going to be around much longer. And yes, they have made some moves, but they are not like what they had with Jared Goff and not like he had developed. So big win for the Lions, big loss for the Rams. Hendon Hooker, though, I feel like if the Rams are going to be owed something here because of what the Lions should be a little bit more appreciative and just pretty much give them Hendon Hooker at this point because, give them Hendon Hooker for like a 6th round pick. They only cost him a 3rd round draft pick to take him anyway. So if you send him a 6th round draft pick, everybody wins. Okay. You get Hendon Hooker. The Lions don't get much better because they're only getting a 6th round draft pick, and you give the Rams a chance out here in these streets.
I love where you went with that. And I think Goff suffered from, when, fellas, when you with a woman or when you're with your girl and she sees this purse that she loves and she has been touting it all over the place, wanting to just shove it in all her girlfriends' faces that she has the purse that they want and they don't have it. And she's just rubbing it in their faces. I'm stunting. I got this purse. And then all of a sudden one day they decide they don't want the purse and they want to just get rid of it. And then another one of the girlfriends picks up the purse and she's stunting with that purse. And although, your girl may have gotten a really good purse and to replace it, it just isn't like the old thing. And I sort of got the feeling that that's how it was with the Rams and Sean McVay. He looked at Jared Goff. He's like, yeah, you're not what I thought you was going to be. And, I thought I was going to have the bells and whistles with you and you be able to perform with the bells and whistles. But no, I think I need to have a more experienced model. You're basically more in the jalopy. And people actually believed that he was horrible. And he never was horrible. He just regressed. And sometimes you have your peaks and your valleys in the NFL. He was in a valley by the time the Rams let him go. And I agree with you. I think that was probably the best pickup that the that the Lions have had probably since drafting Barry Sanders. I mean, this was something that was good for Goff, and I think he needed to change the scenery, and he looks really good as a Lion now. As far as the Rams are concerned, yeah, and I've heard this from Playmaker, who is a huge Rams fan. We got our ring. That's all that matters. Okay, that's fine. You got your ring. But good Lord, you mortgaged a whole lot of your future to get that one ring. And now the QB that you got the ring for, he's about to retire. The megastar player that was built around, that the team built around, who really still in his ages, in his prime, he's now retired. And the stud wide receiver that you had is gone. And I'm talking about Cup, I'm talking about Beckham. The stud that is there now, well, yeah, you have a new stud on the way, but it looks like they're trying to force Cup on out of there. The team is in flux now, and yeah, they made the playoffs last year, but you have the team now, and they are they're in trying to clean up the mess mode. It's like, okay, so yeah, we mortgaged the future. We got rid of first round draft picks right, left, and center for about 4 or 5 years in a row because we wanted the ring that bad. But if you have a franchise QB that can actually put the team on its back, like what Goff did with the Lions a lot of time last year, yeah, you're gonna have remorse. And yes, and that's not the shade of Matthew Stafford. He's a great quarterback. Always has been. He always will be. But think about the fact you might have at least another 7-8 more years with Goff. Only maybe 2 at the most with Stafford. And no really strong QB of the future in the coffers.
And you're an average team that's not going to be necessarily drafting high all the time.
You're average now, right?
Because like when they had the pick, they haven't had a first overall pick since they got him in 2016.
Exactly. They mortgage that much of the future, and so for me, yeah, I think the Rams might have a little bit of buyer's remorse, but they could say, well, we still got the ring for 2021. Okay, yeah, you got the ring. You barely have many players on that team that was on that squad to get that ring. That's problematic. That's problematic.
I agree wholeheartedly with that. I mean, looking at this here and now, they've definitely got to, keep some things in mind with all that. And that's why I just said, like, if they really want to show how much they appreciate that trade for Jared Goff and Matt Stafford, they need to just go ahead and just give him Hendon Hooker. They just need to go ahead and do it.
I like
Be
that.
like, I just for a 6th round pick, everybody wins, and it's like, hey, sorry for screwing your franchise for the next 12 years if we can't make this work, because this is going to be your best move. Because I think that he showed some flashes in college. Hooker did, okay, and I'm saying this, look at how he did with his breakout year in Virginia Tech, and then his last year in Tennessee. Yes, he had the one down year and COVID year, but I'm not going to hold so much to him because a lot of people were affected by that year. So putting all that in perspective, that's the best bet. I definitely don't see them releasing him, but at the same time, with as high as they drafted him for the plans that they had for him at the time, because Jared Goff hadn't fully proven himself at that point, at least to a lot of our eyes out here. I think the fact that they drafted Hooker in the 3rd round last year, it motivated Goff a little bit to where we got the results out of him. I just hope that if they send Hooker on his way, and that sounded pretty bad, but if they send him on his way, okay, that Goff doesn't regress because he doesn't have as much fire under his seat to motivate him towards greatness.
I'm hoping, though, and that's a really good point. I'm hoping, though, that technically this was played in January, but last year's NFC Championship game, I hope that is the fire necessary for him to have under his butt to say, All right, I had a taste of it, and yeah, we had a 2-touchdown lead in that game on the road. We actually had the defending champs on the ropes, and we blew it. I hope he still has that fire and saying, I believe we have what it takes to just go that extra couple of steps further.
I'm looking forward to seeing what comes in this 2024 season in all aspects between a lot of these teams we talked about in this Gridiron Scoop. But it's time for my second favorite thing of the week, and that is the Dog of the Week.
Boop, boop, boop.
Total football talk.
Where's my dogs at? It's time to make our pick for the Dog of the Week. And with that being said, it's time for the EP of all EPs to give his selection of that choice right here and now.
I can go the route of Cody Fajardo because the dude is balling. I like what he did. I also liked in the losing effort what McLeod Bethel Thompson did. I definitely dig what Vernon Adams Jr. did. But I'm not going to go there. I am actually going to go with AJ Alouette. And the reason why is because I think he's going to have to be the key for the Rough Riders to continue to play the way that they're playing. And he's had a great start thus far. And I know you're saying, well, wait a minute, Cole. Only 20 carries and 98 yards and a touchdown. That's not a lot. No. You see, the offensive lineman in me is speaking here on this one. When you have that bell cow, when you have that guy that can tote the rock, and when you can rely on him to give you those tough yards when you need him to get those tough yards the most, and when you can rely on him to pace the game, good things happen. They have that with him, and everybody else responds. And hopefully the backup QB will respond too, because I'm loving what I'm seeing with this team. And you can give it to the defense too, but I'm focusing on AJ Alouette because I think your Rough Riders, Mr. Willingham, are benefiting tremendously from him.
Absolutely. That was a solid pick there. So AJ Alouette, you like him. I'd say with his production, on the ground, I would have to say that's a very, very solid choice. And for my pick, I'm going to stick with someone who has definitely been playing very well over the course of these first 3 games. As much as I want to give it to Cody Fajardo, because he did have a great game, and especially the past 2 weeks, he had combined touchdowns between in the air and on the ground 2 weeks in a row. And this week putting up 4 touchdowns. I wanted to give it to him. However, I'm going to go with another quarterback, one that, I was mistaken as I thought Fajardo was at the top of the charts. There's actually another quarterback who's at the top of the charts. And for this reason alone and what he's doing for the BC Lions, Cole, Vernon Adams Jr., he has been tearing it up these first 3 games. I have to give credit to him. And in this past week, 398 passing yards, 2 touchdowns, along with 5 carries for 24 yards on the ground. But for the season, in 3 games has 1,038 passing yards in the air through 3 weeks. He could potentially throw for 6,000 passing yards if he stays at this pace that he's on right now, playing in 18 games. It's a lot of passing yards. And, I had to go to Ryan McCarthy and tip the cap to him to say, has anybody ever thrown for 6,000 passing yards in a season? Has anybody remained that consistent and thrown 333 plus yards per game? Because that's what it would take to get to this point. What, like 33, 335, 336, somewhere in there, like maybe a little bit more, give or take a few, but to be at 1,038 passing yards through 3 weeks.
That's impressive.
I feel bad for not giving you the Dog of the Week the previous 2 weeks, being at this pace. But I didn't forget about you now, Vernon. I'm giving you the stage right here, right now with my dog of the week pick because you deserve it. And that's why I'm picking you as my dog of the week.
Oh, most certainly he deserves it. No question about that. And the only reason why I didn't pick him, other than had you give him the proper spotlight, is I really believe in the Rough Riders, and I think they have the formula. And I think if they stick with the formula, I really believe they will really love what they're going to get as a result. However, Vernon Adams Jr. is tearing it down. There's no question about that. He's tearing it down.
Hey, at quarterback play right now, he is him. Like very, very much. And before we go on to our last commercial break, I want to give a shout out to Sick Dicky for tuning in, saying good morning, good afternoon, good evening, and good night. Also says, what's good, everybody? My bad for being late.
You're here. That's all that matters, brother.
Absolutely. Giving love to both Comey Media and Sartoba Media on both of those channels, commenting on both of theirs. So we appreciate you, Sick, for helping us both out here in these streams. Melvin jumps back in and says Jared Goff will regress this year. It's what he does. Takes the money and runs away from production. I mean, look at it, kind of when the Rams gave him the contract.
I'm looking at that. Yeah. But wait a minute. He got broken off the bag before he took the Super Bowl? Is that right?
I think he got the bag after took him to the Super Bowl, and then he had a really bad year, and then that's what led to trading for Matthew Stafford. Yeah. Because of his age and everything, it was a decent contract for the Lions at the time, considering how more expensive the contracts have gotten since that moment.
Right.
So it kind of worked out for the Lions. But, I mean, it definitely worked out for the Lions. But in the moment, we were questioning it.
Yeah. Yeah, it worked out for them definitely in terms of the age and the contract itself. Yeah. But I think we're seeing a different Jared Goff, though. But, Melvin, your point is valid. But I think we're seeing a different Jared Goff. I mean, the dude is more mature now. And so that last deal had to be, 5 years ago, 6 years ago? So, yeah, we're dealing with a different, more mature guy. And the guy that at least I've witnessed in Detroit is not the same one that we saw out Los Angeles, where I think he felt as though he didn't really have a voice all the way. Whereas you got Dan Campbell, who's basically saying, look, this is your team. Run it, lead it. Please do, because if you don't, this team is going to go down to crapper. But if you do, we can go far. And you have my support to run it the way you see fit. And I think he has taken the reins and he's done well.
It's a lot better than taking the money and running, for what Melvin said. Now, I got a question for you, Melvin. Let us know out here in the comments. Are you sure your last name is Turismo, or is it McFly? Are you the son of Marty McFly? Are you Melvin McFly? Did you blast here from the past or from something and get confused about Jared Goff's play? Because he is definitely playing a lot different now than he was when he got the previous bag. So get up with Doc Brown, get back in the DeLorean, and you and Marty blast to another part in past or future to catch up with us right here and now. Cole is feeling it. Right here, right now. Subscribe now. Never miss out on new content if you're watching on Comey Media or Sartoba Media right now. Help us out with a like, share, and subscribe. Let's get that algorithm up a little bit better, just like it's doing better right here, right now, as we go to our last commercial break. We'll see you here on the other side, and we got some other big things in store to talk about. See you here in about 2 minutes.
Coming up next, the featured attractions. This is Total Football Talk. Comey Media Incorporated. Creating content magic in the real world.
In a world where chronicles of the past are brought to the streams, whether the content is relatable or completely beyond your realm of life, there is no shadow of a doubt that this show is absolutely full of shenanigans. Get ready for
D Willy in the evening.
This Sunday at 10:05 p.m. Eastern.
Exclusively on Sartoba Media, where the struggle is real to be awesome.
gentlemen. Hey, look. Hey, stop playing games. Y'all already know. Go ahead and toss him some Willie bucks. Ain't nobody playing around. Hey, $sign D Willy 87. Go ahead and hit him up on the Cash App and go ahead and give him some Willie bucks. Look at Drew looking stoic, ladies and gentlemen. Stoic on that $10 bill. So go ahead, slide my man over some Willie bucks, and we good. That's all I'm saying. We good. Some Willie bucks.
Sertoba Media, where the struggle is real to be awesome.
Oh, yes. The tradition, the pageantry, the spectacle, the history, the slut. Wait. I gotta rep my brother's stuff right. All my DMV soldiers, stand up! And welcome to the Commander's Gridiron Report. You want your commanders to be repped right? Well, D Willy is your man. Commander's Gridiron Report. Every Tuesday at 11:05 a.m. Eastern, 10:05 a.m. Central on the Sertoba Media YouTube channel. Music by J. Cool.
Where my soldiers, right side, commanders. Where my soldiers, left side, commanders.
Welcome back to Total Football Talk, your source for hard-hitting gridiron action. We are back for episode 43. We've gone through a bunch of topics already, and we got some more things at store to talk about this week. You saw in that commercial break, talking about D Willy in the evening. The season 2 finale was actually last night. You can go back and check it out. The reason why I grew out my hair had a lot of great clips in there from personal experiences, nothing sports related, but me out here in these streets doing some funny things, having some experiences, myself, being myself, and doing something for a great cause. We're going to go back and check that out. Also, tonight, you can see the 4-year anniversary special edition with Rob Johnson and myself, episode 112 of the In or Out Sports Debate. And even though I'm going to announce this breaking news on there tonight, we do have some breaking news to talk about. Our brother's here for a second there, Cole. Oh, yeah! You know it's time! Breaking news. And that is... no credentials required, guys. Dustin Henry and Ryan McCarthy will be on the In or Out Sports Debate next week, episode 113. On July 1st, Co was just on last week, and next week we got no credentials required.
Yeah, well, thank you for the invite again. Look, I've had the privilege of sharing TV time, screen time with Ryan and Dustin. You will not be disappointed.
I definitely looking forward to it. I spent one episode with them on No Credentials Required a while back, and definitely looking forward to having them on the show next week. It's definitely a blast having everybody that have been on that show throughout. Dustin will be the 41st person to be on that show, so definitely looking forward to that. Adding more people to the list next week, but also working with other great people out here in these streams. But also, you saw the commercials, and we've gone through all of our commercial breaks. Make sure you guys go back and see this morning's edition of The Morning Shift with Cole, and on BS3 Network. You can check it out, every single day, Monday through Friday on his YouTube channel. You saw the commercial earlier, but go back and check that out. Definitely always has great fire topics. And at some point tonight, I'm going to have to get caught up on that as well here, because you guys know my schedule's a little off. But speaking of things that are off, when it comes to timing, let's take it to the featured attractions. The featured attractions, Cole. Let's take it back to the NFL for a second, but outside of it, Travis Kelce makes an on-stage appearance during Taylor Swift's London show. Is he having a little bit too much fun out here in these streets?
Yeah, but I love it. I'm glad he's having too much fun. Look, to the victor go the spoils. Remind me, how's his last 2 years ended?
Yeah, he does have Super Bowl victories.
Yeah, I'm like, it's ended with a ring and a ring. I mean, he gets all the room necessary to enjoy the fruits of his labor. And so if he decides that he wants to date the biggest superstar in the world today in music, cool. And if he wants to be on stage with her and she allows it, even better. Look, I'm not going to be the type that's going to basically rain on his parade and say, how dare he? He should focus on more of this other stuff. Dude's 35. Dude has been thinking about the end of his career probably ever since he started good Lord, the podcast with his brother Jason. I want to say it's New Heights. Ever since then, he's had an eye toward retirement. And so, of course, the older he gets, the more toward retirement he's looking. So, not saying that he's going to probably want to be a performer per se, but let him have fun. He's done his thing, and guaranteed he'll be back on the field. He'll do his thing. No, he should be enjoying himself, and I'm happy he's enjoying himself.
Yeah, I agree with your sentiments there too. I mean, ever since they did New Heights and now Jason's retired, he's looking more forward to retirement and everything. I would say, the fact that football is as demanding as it is, from pretty much you get to August on all the way to the end of the season. If you're a team like the Chiefs that is very competitive and are in it till the end, you're going to be playing all the way till February. It's like 6 months of highly demanding time. Right. Even with your bye week, you still have demands during that time, because if you are a star that has to get some promotional things done, for some commercials or whatever, that's like the times that you do it, especially during the off season for one. But to get the last minute things done, you see a lot of people crushing some things during bye weeks. They're not necessarily getting a break, just getting a break from football during that week. So this guy has a very, very long, big schedule that he's had since playing in the league for the past, 13 years. So, yeah, like you said, he's looking forward to retirement. But if he's taking this time now to devote to his girlfriend that he apparently loves now, as much as they've been around each other for this time that they've been together for like a year now, okay, he's giving her as much of his time as he can. So that way, what goes around comes around during the football season. That's why you see all of her appearances at Arrowhead, Arrowhead Stadium, because she's getting the love during his off season. And technically, when it's like 30 degrees outside and she's not performing on stage because it's too cold, she can reciprocate the love right there by coming to be supportive of him and what he's doing, because his career in the game of football, as far as an on-field participant, is coming to an end within the next 1 to 3 years. Okay, if they win the Super Bowl this year, I wouldn't be surprised if he retires after a third straight Super Bowl.
That's it.
If they don't win the Super Bowl this year, I still wouldn't be surprised if he retires, because he technically only has to play through the 2025 season in order to match the amount of years his brother was in the league, because Jason was only in the league 2 more years than him. So if he plays this year and next year, he matches the number. If he's concerned about being in the league as long as his brother has. If not, if they win a third straight Super Bowl, if they don't, and he decides to retire after this year, I wouldn't be surprised. But at least the man is making the best of his downtime and doing things that he really, truly cares about.
Hey, who's giving them the business?
Next up on the featured attractions, we have many position players made an impact during the inaugural UFL season. When you think back on it, Cole, who are your top 5 players who can make an impact in the NFL for the 2024 season?
That's a good question. That's a really good question. Look, I think I've been huge on AJ McCarron, just from the standpoint of he may not have had the numbers per se, but I love the fact that he had the impact on his team, and and they fell short, obviously. Didn't make it to the championship game, but basically his impact, I think, was great. I think of Jake Bates. The fact that the dude came upon the scene booting 60+ yard field goals. I mean, I just think that I think he's going to have a really good year if a team decides to pick him up in the NFL this fall. I really believe that. I really do believe that. Let me see. It's another name that really stood out to me. you know, I it's rare that I feel for anything Dallas or anything in the Dallas area, but I actually like the Renegades, and for me, I think Vic Beasley was a standout guy. If I don't want to have it all offense, I think he's probably going to get a look very soon, if not now, to be on a team. I really believe that. I really believe that. And then the name that I'm familiar with, a name that I think you're familiar with too, DJ Swearinger. I think he might get one last run in the NFL due to a really good season this year. And then I have to go with the guy that McCarron threw too often, Hakeem Butler. I think he proved that he could be like a mega. Yeah, I think he could be like a Megatron only in this generation, and the sky's the limit for him. He doesn't have to. He doesn't have to just limit it to just the UFL. NFL teams are going to be wanting him because of his size and because of his speed with that size, and he showed that he can. He showed that he can get that. He can get that pigskin. So yeah, those are my 5.
A great top 5, and I would have to say there's some players on my list that are similar to yours. We'll go ahead and start with the league MVP, Hakeem Butler. In the first inaugural year of the UFL, he was the league MVP. So got to give a shout to him for what he did for the Battlehawks. They would not have been as great, and AJ McCarron would not have looked as great without Hakeem Butler. Let's just put that right there on the line. I mean, in 2023, he did pretty great with 51 passes for 599 yards. But he had the UFL best the following year, this past year. Less receptions, 45. So 6 less receptions, but put up 652 yards and 5 touchdowns, which is why he got the UFL League MVP this past year. I would say second on my list would be Adrian Martinez, the quarterback of the Birmingham Stallions. That would be, starting with the league MVP with this, exactly isn't a bold decision. Nevertheless, it's a proper one because, yes, he was the league MVP, and you had the offensive player of the year was Hakeem Butler. My apologies. So I had that backwards. So Hakeem Butler was the offensive player of the year. Adrian Martinez was the league MVP and the MVP of the UFL title game, even though he had lackluster numbers. But I digress. He still did well enough throughout the year to have that league MVP, and that's why I feel like he deserves a chance at quarterback in the NFL. I mean, when you look at what he did, he threw for 1,749 yards in 10 games because they only have a 10-game season, with an averaging a league high of 7.6 yards per attempt. He also threw for 15 touchdowns and only 3 interceptions during that 10-game season. And again, he earned the MVP honors in the championship game too. Martinez is only 24 years old, with that being said. So he has a very, very bright future. If he's putting up numbers like this, isn't a quitter, it can come from the UFL into the NFL. I feel like Adrian Martinez could have a bigger impact than Jake Bates as the kicker who just recently got signed for the Detroit Lions. And I've been high on. Yeah,
that's good. Yeah, that's good. Yeah,
which
that's
the Lions,
a strong pick right there.
Thank you. I mean, the Lions needed to solidify that position with kicker over there because that's what they had issues with last year, and they did. Even though we'll talk about that more. I think I'm going to save that for a topic for next week. But Jake Bates, definitely a good pick there. So we got Adrian Martinez and Hakeem Butler as my 2 picks so far. The edge rusher, Breland Speaks, coming from the Birmingham Stallions as well. He was the UFL's offensive player. When you look at this, he was the UFL's defensive player of the year. So we've gone from league MVP to offensive player of the year in Butler to now the defensive player of the year in Breland Speaks. He notched up 24 tackles in all 16 games as a rookie with the Kansas City Chiefs, but then injuries kind of knocked him out of the league, and now he's in the UFL for this past season. Out of all of what he did last year, he had 13 tackles for a loss in 10 games, 9.5 sacks. So 9.5 sacks in 10 games to average almost a sack per game. It's pretty impressive in a 10-game season. So to give that to him, that's my pick for that. I would say sticking with defense, I'm going to go with Carlos Davis, a defensive tackle who is also with the Birmingham Stallions. Looking at what he did this year, he tackled 23 stops with 7 sacks in the UFL season. That's why I got him on my fourth pick for this list. And we've already got Jake Bates, who's been selected by the Lions. So I went with another kicker. One that I feel like we need to put some praise on to give him the opportunity to be looked at, and that's Andre Smythe, the kicker from the St. Louis Battlehawks. Another reason why with Hakeem Butler and with AJ McCarron helped get that team over the hump to where they got a little bit further this year than they did last year, but they didn't quite get far enough, and that was because injuries and stuff. They were banged up a little bit towards the end of the year. So for that, I give it to their kicker. He was the second best UFL kicker in the league. And, looking back at what he did, he was 19 of 21 in field goal attempts during the regular season and included a 61-yarder, which the only other person to have kicks over 60 yards was Jake Bates. So if you're going to take a kicker that can consistently kick 60 yards, you might as well take somebody else who was pretty consistent during that year and still has a 60-plus yard field goal in the 2024 UFL season. That's Andre Smythe. And that rounds out my top 5 players that I feel like can make an impact in the NFL.
Great list, man. Great list. And Adrian Martinez. How did I forget about him? Yeah. But there's a lot of good players, though. There's a lot of good players. And yes, I realize that Adrian McCarron is basically on the tail end of his career. Doesn't mean that he probably won't be picked up by somebody to hold a clipboard.
I mean, yeah, because the Bengals still picked him back up last year. He was still a third string on the Bengals, which he's been consistently on that staff for a while. So, AJ McCarron definitely is somebody you could pick up as a good, solid backup quarterback. Cool McCain's in the house. It says, my brothers. Cool McCain is here.
What's up, Cool?
And it looks like Ryan confirmed there were 3 quarterbacks who have passed for 6,000 yards. And the answer for that question, yes. Nice. So that's a lot of yards to throw in an 18-game season. And if the NFL adopts it, we could see a 6,000-yard passer at some point when we've seen 5,000-yard passers before. He says 3 have passed for over 6,000 yards in the CFL. Doug Flutie did it twice. Kent Austin did it once. And David Archer did it once.
Now, I was going to say as a joke, Doug Flutie, and it sure enough happened to be him. And that's something.
And twice. 12,000 yards thrown between 2 seasons. That's insane. When people can't even throw for 12,000 yards in 3 seasons combined.
3 seasons.
Wow. That's absolutely wild. But looking at that, we still got one more thing here on the featured track.
Hey. Who's giving them the business?
Ed Policy named Packers' next chairman, president, and CEO to take over for Mark Murphy in 2025. Will this move be beneficial to the organization or another setback to add to the decades-long dismal team results?
Okay. Dismal in terms of Super Bowl rings, which they only have 2 in the last 30. Yeah. Unfortunately, I know that's not how the Packers think. They think along the lines of, as long as we're competitive this particular year, we're good. Now, will they want to advance past that? Of course, but I think they just focus on year to year. And I don't think it'll be beneficial, and I don't think it'll be another setback. I just think it's just, how can I put it? Hey, teacher, leave those kids alone. Dun, 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 dun. All in all, it's just another brick in the wall. And that's how I view it. We don't need no education. I'm sorry, my bad. It's just another brick in the Packers wall. I think that they'll be fine. They'll go on. It'll be business as usual. They got their quarterback of the future in Jordan Love. They have a young team, and they'll probably be heartbroken for the next couple of years before they really could be contenders for an NFC title. Yeah, I mean they're where they want to be.
I think with Jordan Love and all that, you bring some great points to this, and I have to agree wholeheartedly with the sentiment. Couldn't have said it better. Not even going to tackle it because you nailed it right into the ground.
Who's giving them the business?
With that being said, we got to take it to my favorite part of the week, the snowflake of the week. Snowflake of the Week award. And with that being said, I got to hand the keys over to my man for his pick of the week.
Oh my gosh, you're too excited for this. All right. Oh my goodness. Who shall I choose? Who shall I choose? You know, I could go with someone in the CFL, but I'm not going to. I'm probably going to go with this guy. So we were talking about the Chiefs a little earlier, and one of the key cogs of the Chiefs in Travis Kelce contributing to the team going back to back with getting rings. But let's be honest, we've seen some hiccups in the offseason. In the late winter, early spring, it was Rashee Rice, and now it is Isaiah Buggs. And for those who don't know, he's a defensive lineman for the team. Now, he may not be a name like a Chris Jones, which he's, to me, the best player on the Chiefs, regardless of position. Yes, better than even Patrick Mahomes. And I do love Patrick Mahomes, but Chris Jones is what makes that team's what makes the team go.
Facts.
It's how that team is run. He's not impactful like that. However, a guy like Chris Jones needs to have 10 more on his side that can hold him down. This is one less guy who can hold him down. And you can't have things such as domestic violence, burglary charges on you earlier this month. You can't have that and have him be on the team, because it will make you think, oh, well, he could be heavy-handed with a woman, but as long as he contributes to a ring, it doesn't really matter. So yeah, kudos to the Chiefs for getting him off the team. But any guy, and I mean any guy, who thinks that he is a man because he can physically dominate a woman and hurt her to do so, that's not a man, that's a male. And you need to grow up, son. You need to grow up and grow up fast. That's not how you do things. All yours, sir.
Well said. I mean, you definitely cannot be laying hands on females out here and expect to get anywhere. That's definitely not the way that you do things out here. And you really shouldn't be laying hands on people to begin with.
Yeah.
Unless you just challenge them to like a boxing match or something. Then if it's agreed upon, then it's different. The stipulations are different at that point. If you want to duke it out in a boxing ring, or if it's agreed upon. But no, domestic violence is nothing to throw any type of praise on, but you threw a great amount of shade on it, and I appreciate you for taking the floor with that in this pick.
Thank you, sir.
You're welcome. Right here, right now, though, I'm going to switch it up a little bit. There's somebody else took a beating, but in a different way on the field this past weekend. Okay. Got to look at teams that absolutely suck. Okay. We got to look at certain players that absolutely suck. Okay. Right now, I have to look at one particular team that have sucked each and every week when it comes to the defensive side of the ball. And that is the Winnipeg Blue Bombers. That is my choice for the snowflake of the week. Because 3 consecutive weeks you have given up more points than what you have scored. 3 consecutive weeks you have showed up without a sack, without a turnover, without any type of positive action on that side of the ball. You need to do your job. You need to stop the other team in their positive production because they're going positive all over yourself. I wanted to say something else, but I watched myself. All right. I think you know where I was going with it. I think I'm getting pretty good at catching myself now. I've come up with creative words like mother, father, and stuff like that so we can still keep this thing going with my takes and getting animated. But right here and right now, when I look at the Winnipeg Blue Bombers and thinking that they have a chance to turn it around with 15 games left of the season. No, they suck. They absolutely suck. And you haven't given me any type of hope to think otherwise. Play in a cool city named Winnipeg. Okay? Chris Jericho, professional wrestlers from that area. Okay? Shout out to him because he's still going strong right now in AEW, still wrestling. That's another conversation for another day. But he is a fan of the Winnipeg Blue Bombers. And you are not helping out his fanhood and his inspiration for wrestling and music creativity when you go out there and you suck on defense and you're 0-3 and you have nothing to look forward to in week 4. Because when I look at week 4, I'm going to break that down quickly here in a second, but their opponent is someone that's coming off a bye and is well rested and doesn't have more losses than wins. Okay. We're going to talk about that in a second, but overall, that is why I feel like the Winnipeg Blue Bombers should be on this list for Snowflake of the Week, and it's because of their defensive production.
I can't fault you for that. I can't fault you for that at all, but I'm glad I got a second take of it. That's great. That's great. You gave us an LA Knight version earlier, and now you gave us a Snowflake of the Week version. I feel satiated. This is awesome. Because it must mean that they just simply take a whole heaping pile of juicy, sweet fat.
I love that so much every time that plays. That transition melts my heart as much as it does when we have to take it to the 2-minute drill. And here with the 2-minute drill, we got to look at CFL Week 4. The Week 4 bye goes to the Saskatchewan Roughriders. The last time I get a chance to say that on this episode, but they are 3-0 and deservingly deserve a break after playing well the first 3 weeks. And the first game we have is on Thursday, this Thursday the 27th, as the 0-3 Edmonton Elks take on the BC Lions in British Columbia, who are 2-1. It's a late game, though, on this Thursday. It's 10 o'clock p.m. Eastern time on TSN. Cole, what are your thoughts going into this game? Will we see an 0-4 Elks team, or will they have enough to knock the Lions to 2-2?
But it'll be 7 when they start in Vancouver. The Elks, it's been a pretty much almost been like Brandy. Everybody knows almost doesn't count. I mean, that's just the feel of the team, and it's unfortunate. And I think we're going to get another almost doesn't count here. I like the Lions in this one. They're at home, and they're cooking where it matters the most at the QB position. I can't see the Elks. I can see the Elks giving them a game. I just can't see them pulling it out.
I agree. I think the Elks did play very well. There's the best production that we've seen out of them through the first 3 weeks. Don't think it's going to be enough to take down a hot BC Lions team with the quarterback that we mentioned earlier, Vernon Adams Jr., who is leading the league in production. Got to give a shot to him. Got to give a shot to that team. I think the Lions take down the Elks, make them 0-4.
Hey. Who's giving them the business?
Now, looking at our next game right here, you got to look at the fact that we've got a team in a team right here as far as the Montreal Alouettes, who, again, are at the top of the league with the Roughriders as far as how great they've been playing this year. They're 3-0. And coming into this Friday night's game, they travel to Toronto to take on the Argonauts, who are 2-1. Argonauts a similar team to the Lions, but the Alouettes a little bit better, in my opinion. What are your thoughts when it comes to this one, Cole? Kickoffs at 7:30 p.m. on Friday.
Ooh, I really want to go with Argonauts on this. I really do. I really do. I'm just not sure about them as a whole. I don't know if they could defensively slow down the Alouettes enough. And yes, I know it's in Toronto, but I just don't think they have enough horses to slow Alouettes down. So I think Montreal will be 4-0 after that game on Friday night, but it will be a tussle.
I like your pick. However, I'm going to disagree on this one and I think that the Argonauts have a chance to hold the Alouettes and kind of somewhat in an early part of the year humble them enough to make them realize what they do need to work on to keep them a relevant team throughout the remainder of this season and potentially run it back with a championship. It's been a while, or at least take it to the championship game and get a victory. I think the Alouettes will lose, but it's going to help them build a greater team throughout the rest of this year. I like your pick, though, and won't be surprised if it goes your way either.
Hey. Who's giving them the business?
Our next game that we have up here is a Saturday game, 7:00 p.m. Eastern time on TSN. A team that I just went hard on for my Snowflake of the Week. They get a chance to prove me wrong with their defensive play as the 0-3 Winnipeg Blue Bombers travel to Calgary to take on the 1-1 Stampeders. Do you think the Blue Bombers continue their straight streak of dismal play, or do you think the Calgary Stampeders come off the bye week and get the L?
I really believe that this will be the time we will see the Blue Bombers actually get off the schneid and get a W. I really don't feel that the Calgary Stampeders will have a shot. I really don't believe that's going to happen. I'm going to pick the Blue Bombers.
We gotta pause that.
And if you believe I'm picking the Blue Bombers,
That was a lie.
Stampeders should have this game, and it shouldn't even be close.
I wholeheartedly agree with everything you did, from the transition to everything. For a second, you had me thinking you were going to go one way, which is why I sat up in my seat. I levitated off of my chair for a second because I was like, where is this going? But you took it to a great point. I agree with you wholeheartedly. Blue Bombers get their 4th consecutive L.
Hey. Who's giving them the business?
Our last game of the week. Talk about a team I dubbed with a new nickname earlier. That's the Hamilton Tiger Kitties, who are 0-3, traveling to Ottawa to take on the Redblacks, who are 1-1. This Sunday at 7:00 p.m. Eastern time on TSN. Think the Tiger Cats fall to 0-4 like the Blue Bombers, or do they have a chance to knock off the Redblacks to make them fall to 1-2?
I know this game's in Ottawa. I actually think the Tiger Cats might stand a shot. I think they have a shot of beating them. The Redblacks didn't impress me. Now, the Tigers didn't impress me either. But if there's going to be a game that the Tiger Cats could actually get healthy and eat, as they say, out on these streets, this would be the game. And yeah, why not? I'm going to go with the Tiger Cats in this one.
I like where you went with that, but because I dubbed them the Kitties, I have to stay with this current flow. I'm going to say that they take a big fat and finish 4 weeks as an 0-4 team.
Hey. Who's giving them the business?
With that said, let's go ahead and take this unit on into the post game.
As long as it's one. It's great. I love it.
Everything we talked about on this show, Cole, what are your final thoughts heading home with this episode?
All right, so we now have witnessed the first season ever of the UFL. Of course, it came to its end last Sunday on Father's Day. And for a league, I'll say this, for a league that is in, I guess you could say, a competitive market, because, or I should say a competitive market from the standpoint of there's a big daddy that just rules, which is the NFL. They did well. I'm sure that they probably lost money, and I'm not saying that to be poo-pooing on them. It's just that the XFL last year lost a good chunk of money, and I'm sure the USFL did too. And I think the UFL lost a bit too, but I think they may not have lost as much. So that's progress. I'm loving the fact that the UFL is taking the tact of, we actually would not be afraid to embrace being the minor leagues of the NFL. And if they're going to survive, that is the road they need to take. And I'm glad that they aren't closing their thoughts out of that process. I'm glad they're not saying, well, this is professional football and we can compete with the NFL, but only we play in the spring instead of the fall. No, this is the route you need to take. If you're going to survive for a long time, this is how you got to do it. And, you know, it's about a month away from training camp. We're about a little less than 2 months away from the season beginning in earnest. And I'm already feeling hype. I mean, Labor Day can't come fast enough. And we haven't even gotten to Independence Day yet. 2 months and some change, and we will be in the regular season in the NFL. And to me, sports-wise, it is the most exciting time of the year. Feeling that anticipation is great. And hearing a lot of talk about many teams doing well and many teams drafting well and many teams looking good in training camp or looking horrible in OTAs. Many prospects looking horrible in OTAs and many prospects looking good in OTAs, and many who have looked good in going from year 1 to year 2. I'm loving hearing that. But of course, it just does not replace having the action on the field. And yeah, I'm looking forward to the Ravens Chiefs. That's the first game of the year. And then the game war in Brazil. The Eagles and the Packers. Both teams that wear green, and the NFL had to understand that teams can't wear green because of game colors, but I digress. Of all the things that could take me away from enjoying the NFL, they still have the corner market corner for me. The NBA, not bad, but they're great at the end. NHL, decent Stanley Cup playoffs. Now they have a Game 7 tonight for it all. The Major League Baseball season, the Yankees are doing well. That means baseball's good. But I don't believe it, because I'm about to throw up just with that thought process. However, I understand where the bread's buttered. If the Yankees do well, then that means the MLB is doing well. When the Yankees suck, that means the MLB sucks, no matter which of the other 29 teams play. But we're not talking about baseball. All of that is wonderful. But the NFL is king, and I'm so glad that we're almost rounding third and coming home to another regular season. And just hearing Travis Kelce's name has gotten my mouth watered. I'm enjoying the other action, but come on, NFL, I'm ready for you. 2 months plus and counting, and I'm looking forward to it all.
Very, very well said. I don't know if I can give as great of a take on that final post game like you did or not. That was definitely very, very well said, especially getting hyped about the NFL season, breaking down the UFL for a second, going round and round with a very, very great take there, Cole. And with my part, you're welcome. I'm going to go with something a little different. I'm going to take it back to CFL as there was news that came out over the weekend that the CFL fined 4 kickers for complaining about the chips in footballs. This is something that they had brought out recently to basically get more analytics and statistics on the game. And it looks like they've adopted something that the NFL has adopted or has been using for a while. And the NFL has made it very clear, and now the CFL is adopting it, that if you get verbally out of line, they're going to hit you in the wallet. And with this, the league fined 4 kickers for daring to complain publicly about the insertion of microchips in footballs. The CFL fined Sergio Castillo, Brett Lowther, Sean White, and Lewis Ward this past Friday. Castillo complained after Winnipeg's season opener against Montreal. Castillo missed 2 of 3 field goals and an extra point in that game. "Quote unquote, I don't know where to aim," Castillo told reporters after the 27-12 loss. "Every time I'm out there, I'm literally praying with the rosary. I don't know where to aim." He also said the chips affect the trajectories of the kicks. The other 3 kickers supported Castillo on social media. The amounts of the fines were not disclosed. The CFL has since amended the rules to allow kickers to opt out of using the balls with chips in them. It's a stupid and heavy-handed tactic, and it makes the powers that be look like the bullies and the cowards simultaneously. When you think about all that in perspective, this is a report that just came out this past weekend. Microchips in footballs. People acting like snowflakes because, if I kick it one way, it's only going to go one way because it's got a chip in it. Oh, well, sorry, Johnny, that there's going to chip in it, and it's going to make it hook a little to the left. There's a thing called practice. And if you practice enough with the chips in the football, you won't suck so bad when you go out there to play on the field out there. That's why Cole and I practice. We practiced for 42 episodes before we showed up today and gave you greatness. And I hope I didn't say grave because it was a quick moment for me. Kind of up with the words for a second, but you knew exactly where I was coming from. The point is right here and right now. If you talk too much about the things that you don't like, they're going to get rid of you because you're going to be a cancer to the environment. And the point of that being is shut your mouth or you're going to get fined in a game of football. Because if you did the same thing in the professional world out here in business and you talk too much about the negative going on within the workspace, they're going to either suspend you, which is the same as a fine, or move you somewhere else, or just completely just say peace, adios. All right. That you're lucky to get fined than fired. So shut up about how the ball hooks to the left because it has a chip in it. But at least they gave you the option of not using the ball with the chip too, if you heard what I was saying. So make a choice and make a smart one. Ball with chip or no chip. Your excuse is going to be the same probably, or no, you're going to have no excuse if it's no chip and you still kick it to the left because you can't kick. And that is my point right here for the post game. Stop coming up with excuses. Stop being a narcissist. Just admit that you sucked when you missed 2 out of 3 field goals.
In essence, boys and girls, what my brother Drew is saying to those kickers is following.
You should know your role and shut your mouth.
There it is. We made it rain on you. There it is. With that being said, guys, you can check out my man Cole Johnson on right here on Flow Code /page/host Cole Johnson. Check out his great content that he has 5 days a week out here in these streams. And if you want to get ready for some work, you can go to all these different links right here. I need to hurry up and finish this and get Cole to update this for me with the Flow Code at some point. But right here now, I still haven't completed the transition. So, hey, there it is. Just put in a little work for me. If you love me, put in a little work. Click on those links. subscribe, like, share, and look at my man Cole here as well when it comes to Comey Media in the BS3 Morning Shift with Cole Johnson, which you can check out every Monday through Friday, 8 a.m. Eastern Time on BS3 Network in their Roku channel as well. So make sure you check them out. We've only got one more thing left to do, but before we get to that point, we need to hear the greatest outro from you before we get to it.
Well, I appreciate that. Well, ladies and gentlemen, thank you for liking. Thank you for sharing. Thank you for subscribing. And thank you for hitting the notification bell so you can catch all content that comes from the Saratoga Media YouTube channel, like tonight with the In-Or-Out Sports Debate, celebrating its 4-year anniversary, or the Comey Media YouTube channel. And we're not celebrating any anniversaries, but you can catch the latest installment of Mentality that was released today. But you got wonderful things in which to sample on both channels. For Drew Willingham, I'm Cole Johnson, here to say in parting, as we always do, in life, just like a tackle, keep your head up. And always remember, you gotta play until the whistle blows.
And as always, stay safe out here in these streets.
See ya.